an honor and pleasure for me to be here. You have to give me a moment because I got so filled in just hearing all the great things about this great woman, some things I didn't even know. When Ma Sanford first came to Selma, she had a dream and she had a vision. She met a woman that you also saw with her on the Edmonds Pettus Bridge. Her name was Amelia Boynton. But Amelia Boynton was in obscurity until someone made a movie called Selma. Before that, she was rarely mentioned, even though she is the mother of the voting rights movement coming into Selma in the 30s and the 40s, and she was the woman on the bridge left for dead. But until someone made a movie, no one knew about her. I wrote a play called Selma the Musical where I tell her story. And in that play, I wrote the song, "Folks just don't understand the price of love and sacrifice." You are here today because you understand. You are few of the people on this earth of African descent that understand that Amelia Boynton and Dr. Sanford are nothing less than angels that God sent here to make this world a better place. When they asked us to say something, I wrote these words, and it's in the little booklet, but I decided to repeat them. How do you thank a flower for its beauty? How do you thank a rainbow for its brilliance? How do you thank a tree for its roots? A people for their resourcefulness and resiliency? An ocean for its mighty roar? How do you thank Adelaide Sanford for her beauty, her roots, her mighty voice for justice, her excellence, her wisdom? I can think of but one way to thank her, and that is to do her work. Elder's House is a part of her dream and that work. How many people over 80 would dare come into a little place called Selma and dare to purchase land, to continue the history and to make sure that people 100 years from now know the brilliance of African history and African teachers? None other than our mother's sister. I've been so blessed because sitting beside her today is another woman I met here 50 years ago when I came to New York not knowing a soul. I was homeless by choice, and a family by the name of Adair's took me into their home. How did I know years later that Dr. Adair would join with Dr. Sanford to establish the Elders' House? So I say two things to you today in terms of how you can thank Dr. Sanford and her work and what she stands for. Remember the song I wrote. I'm not going to sing because I'm not a great singer. I'm a pretty good songwriter, but not a great singer. Folk don't understand the price of love and sacrifice. Two women came with me to you here today from Selma. I would like for them to stand briefly. Vivian helps me take care of the Elders' House. She's there checking on it all the time. Now, I don't want to embarrass my friend Brenda, but let me tell y'all, Brenda, her house was just nearly destroyed, literally, out of work because of discrimination, but she bought that ticket, got on that plane, and paid that $125 because she understands the price of love and sacrifice. Now, I was not asked to do this, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to ask you what I want y'all to do. When you look at this excellent, wasn't this a bad jazz band? Wasn't this food excellent? All this was not free. That was $125 we paid today will barely cover the cost. So if you really, really believe in the Elders' House and the Clark House and what Dr. Sanford stands for, and I'm no Jesse Jackson, but I'm asking people, and they didn't ask me to do that. I'm asking everybody here that will give $1,000. And y'all don't believe in if y'all like me, when I make pledges, I forget about them. A week later, I can't even think about them. I want people that will give $1,000. Not to Dr. Sanford. Even when her husband died, she asked for, in lieu of flowers, give the money to the Elders' House and the Clark House. How many people here will give $1,000 for this noble cause? I'll be the first one to say I will. If you will give $1,000 for this noble cause, I want you to stand right now. And I want your word, $1,000. And I want someone to take it. How many people here will give at least $500 or raise $500 and get their friends and neighbors to give $500? Because they're not going to make that much money off of this today. Because they wanted it to be as exquisite as she is exquisite. That's why they didn't spend a dime in giving this event. Anybody that will give $500? Stand so we can see you. Okay. $500. Anybody that will here will give any amount to further this cause. Any amount of money. To 100. 100? How many people will give $100? Thank you. That is the best way to say thank you to Adam. Huh? Okay, well, I'm not good. I'll lose money, y'all. I need somebody else to take it. Okay, will someone agree to take the money, please? I want, while you do, I got only a few minutes left. I want to invite all of you to the 51st anniversary of the Selma and Montgomery March. Dr. Adele said something. She didn't know that she was making me sad. I know she said it to make me feel good. But I began this event 24 years ago, and I'm a behind-the-scene person. I usually work the Jubilee from behind the scene. She said to me, you know, people don't know who you are. I said, it's all right, because God knows who I am. But this is an event I need you to support forever. They're trying to take it because it's so successful. And every year you can come to this Jubilee. Susan has been there, Dr. Sanford, and the group comes every year. Selma has not grown since the 60s. Selma has the highest crime rate in Alabama. It's number 4. The poverty is tremendous. People come to Selma but leave very little in Selma. That's why I was so glad that Dr. Sanford chose to do the Elders House in Selma. Give what you can over that $125, even if it's just $25. Dreams don't have legs without people. You are the people to give those dreams legs. I want to end with two things. Number one, there will be an exhibit when you come, Dr. Sanford. I'm determined to have the first exhibit in the Elders House called Freedom's Children. It will be there when y'all come in March. And I want y'all to join me in a song I wrote, and it's simply, I want to lift my sister up. She is not heavy. If I don't lift her up, I will fall down. Can y'all help me sing that song? Some of you know it. It's very simple. I want to lift my sister up. She is not heavy. You know it, Cassandra. Come on. I want to lift my sister up. She is not heavy. Y'all come on, fast learners. I want to lift my sister up. She is not heavy. If I don't lift her up, 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 I will fall down. Now lift up Elders and Clark. I want to lift the Elders House. It is not heavy. Now lift Clark. I want to lift Clark House up. It is not heavy. I can't hear y'all. I want to lift Clark House up. It is not heavy. If we don't lift it up, if we don't lift it up, if we don't lift it up, if we don't lift, we will fall down. Thank you. Lift it up. Anybody would like a card?
Just wanted to make an announcement that we have commemorative mugs out front that you can purchase, and the proceeds will also support this. And also, if for those of you who raised your hands and wanted to give, please direct your attention right here, and she will tell you who to write the check out to, and you can see her. Vapor. Write the check out to Vapor. Vapor. BEPAA. Okay, and just find her. Another announcement. Another announcement I want to make. I wanted to acknowledge Melvin McCrae, and he's the individual that made the 2 videos. So if you could throw your hand up, Mr. McCrae. Thank you very much. Okay, and before this last video, we're going to speed it up. We have one more video to show, but I learned something really important today that I thought was significant I wanted to share. We're going to see from 2 individuals on this video speak about Dr. Sanford. We're going to hear from James Andrews and Michael Prayer. And I learned today that Michael Prayer was watching the Gil Noble show when he was a little boy, saw you on it, and decided he wanted to be an educator. And now he's the superintendent of the Brooklyn schools. So just to speak to that legacy. Okay. Thank you. Go ahead and show the video.
When you think of tenacity, PS21, when they first built PS21, it was a brand new school. They brought, and the projects were new. So they built the school, but they did not build it large enough to accommodate all the children from the project. So what they did was they had the school open for only half a day for one group of children and the other half a day for another group of children. And so tenacity is she fought to make sure that the children got a full day, and it was a fight, meaning what they had to fight for was them to actually add to the building, the structure itself. So that was part of the tenacity, and it took a lot of leadership and push with the working with the parents and the other community leaders to see that this took place.
That leader is so important.
So, okay.
School is a shadow of the leader. That's a shame. And you see, that's one of the reasons I stayed at 21 so long. It took a long time. From 1956 until 1985.
Wow. Wow.
And then preparing people for the next world. So in 35 years, we only had 3 principals. And they had all been there together at some point.
Right.
So you don't have a whole new setup. Next one after me was Alice Uzaga. We had come to 21 together, studied together. After that, it was Dr. Renee Young. Mm-hmm. And so we all knew each other. The relationships were there. Willing to sacrifice. Mm-hmm. When I say they're willing to sacrifice, I was the principal. Mrs. Uzaga had a principal's license, but she and I had an agreement that we'd work together. Mm-hmm. And when I left, before I was going to leave, we began to prepare that she would know the routine, the political piece also. But when I got on the Ford Foundation fellowship for a year, she became the principal. And of course everybody said, well, when Sanford comes back, Uzaga's not going to stay now, but she's not only has the license, but she has the opportunity to have a position. She said, no, we're going to stay here together. I'm going to stay here. She went back on an AP line. Now, is that sacrifice? We used to do that. I used to take the parents through the neighborhood, into the housing project. Some of them didn't want to go. But that was my staff development. It wasn't reading out of a book to tell you which commercial material to buy. It was to get you to understand the basis for the respect that I want you to have for these parents. And when they went into the housing project, they were shocked to find how clean the apartments were, how creative the parents were, and also how there was no quiet place. There wasn't a door on any room except the bathroom. So don't tell me that the parent isn't doing homework, don't have a quiet place. There isn't any quiet place. So I think that's the kind of thing. We are expecting teachers to act on something that they don't know. So we have to tell them, when they come to school, that's our responsibility. If there's something you want to make sure that the parent sees that the child has glasses, if you think they need glasses, gets a medical. Some kids in high school haven't had a medical since they were in elementary school. They may have hearing problems, they could have allergies, they could have vision problems, more than near and far-sighted vision. I think the school can help with that. We used to take our children to the pediatric vision centers and found that many of them didn't have near and far-sighted vision because they had memorized it, but their eyes didn't focus the same, or they had astigmatism, a variety of things which kept them from reading, but there was no evidence. So I think we can ask parents, to see that they have a medical, but we also, if necessary, through the help of the guidance counselor or a health coordinator, get in touch with those organizations that will provide those services for children. I think that's particularly true of high school. First thing in terms of where do we go from here is information. Parents need to know about that Office of Civil Rights. That's the only thing we have in the federal government at this point. We also need to talk to our politicians and our congresspeople and any other pressure that we can create around the idea of having some federal legislation that we can go back on and refer to, saying the federal government says that you must provide textbooks or whatever. I think we need more monitoring of instructional material so that we can build our case. When we took every white image down from the walls in 21, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson, we said those are not images for our children. They have to see themselves and their possibilities. Of course, the Union fought it, but we won because we said those people made war, and we teach our children not to fight. So we have to have images of people who are peacemakers.
Clap along. Come on now. Enjoy this moment when we celebrate our Queen Mother. Yes. We're going to hit some music on. Come on now, y'all. Happy birthday to you. She said she's happy. What? I should talk. Okay, keep going. I'm keeping it moving. Need you to know that before we do the cake, not the cake, I got to just say this. About 10 years ago, Queen Mother Sanford asked me, she knew me as a poet, but she didn't care. She said, if you can write, you could write. She said, I want you to write a book. It's not about me. It's about the PS21 Crispus Attucks School legacy. And so 5 years ago, she said, I'd like you to write it before I'm out of here. I said, oh, a little pressure going on. So this year, I took a sabbatical based on writing the book on the legacy of the Crispus Attucks School, from Adelaide, Sanford, Renee Hanson-Young, Alicia Zaga, and even into the present. And so I'm going to ask you, any of you who have something that you think I need to know for this book, I got a lot of good stuff. L. Barron, B-A-R-O-N, at york.cuny.edu. Be in touch with me so I can make sure we get the book done. She's going to live another 10, 20 years, but I need to get this done. Can I get a witness? Can I get a witness? Can I get a witness? And I need to know, when looking at the history of I love Dr. but Queen Mother Sanford, I've read about and knew about Reverend Herbert Oliver and Ocean Hill Brownsville, Rhodey McCoy. And do you know, in this room right now, we're not acknowledging all of us, we all special, we all doc, we all got it all going on. But I do have to have Reverend, see, Herbert Oliver is here. Where is he? Could we give him a hand, please? Thank you so much. He's right in the back. God bless you. Now, my understanding is that there are 3 speakers to speak to Dr. Sanford's legacy. I'll introduce the 3 of them, and they'll come right in order. Dr. Lester Young, I knew him years ago, but at 19, none of your business. He was a guidance counselor, and Renee was Hanson then was my assistant. She was my assistant principal, and they were just such a phenomenal pair. And then he went on to become so many things, superintendent, all these stuff. He don't want me to talk about him because he's got too much. It's about our Queen Mother. But we're going to ask him to speak. He's a regent at large because he's really following the legacy of our Queen Mother. After Dr. Lester Young speaks, representing ASI, we're going to have the Honorable Priscilla Hall and Judge Cheryl Gonzalez from the National Association of Women Judges, New York chapter, and they're speaking to the prison ministries that our Queen Mother has been intimately involved in. And next, the third will be Susan Taylor. She is all of that, an editor, writer, journalist. Maybe you should have written a book. We're not going to speak. She was even called the most influential black woman in journalism today, but she is the love just a love of our life. So when the 3 of them speak, could we just give them a hand now in welcoming them? Thank you so much.
Dr. Young.
Good afternoon. It is and indeed a pleasure, an honor. It's a humbling experience. It's also, for me personally, a very emotional experience to be here today. As I look around the room at some of my friends over the years, I'm reminded, I believe it was Baldwin who wrote that to be black in America is to be in a constant state of silent rage. And many years ago, when some of us in this room were very young men, Mrs. Sanford was able to take the rage of some young men. Charles, you remember, Tom, you remember, and really corral that rage into something useful. And that's important for us to understand, that in addition to her legacy, she has that unique, rare ability that whenever you are in her presence, the first thing is, you get a little nervous, particularly if you have to speak in her presence. The next thing is, and I just know for the brothers out here, whenever we're in her presence, she makes you just want to stand tall, right? You feel good about yourself just by being in her presence. And that's a rare quality, a spiritual quality that should touch something inside of all of us. And as this proceeding, as this event was unfolding, people continued to say, what a wonderful feeling in this room. And we all should be very thankful that we're here because of the Vice Chancellor Emeritus, our Queen Mother, Adelaide Sanford. Now, when I thought about the remarks, and there's so many things that I could talk about. I could talk about my personal interactions with Mrs. Sanford over the years, but what I thought would be most appropriate is I would confine my remarks to the lessons that she taught us, right? Because for some of us working with her, someone mentioned how she prepared some of us to become leaders. You have no idea what it was like when Mrs. Sanford gave us an assignment and then told us that we would have to be interviewed by her the very next day. You had no idea. Absolutely no idea. But we stood the test, and it's interesting. Throughout my career, people would say to me often, well, Lester, what was it like to work at CS21? And I'm just going to fast forward for a moment. It was Mrs. Sanford, and we need to be clear. When people were talking about things like excellence in education and effective schools, it was Adelaide Sanford that said there can be no excellence without cultural excellence. See, understand that had never been said before. But never been said before. It was Adelaide Sanford that many, many years ago introduced what was called at that time the curriculum for inclusion. Some of us in this room are old enough to remember that. I mean, that story has to be told. It was Adelaide Sanford that told us as aspiring leaders, see, it's not enough to just have the title. Because many of us, our goal is just to get the title. But she taught us it's what you do with the title. Right? It's what you do once you're in the position. Some of you have been enthralled and you say, oh, the parents this, the parents that, but you don't really understand parent empowerment and parent involvement until you had to try to get a job at CS21. Some of us remember that after you were interviewed by Mrs. Sanford, you were then interviewed by the parents. And we're talking now over 40 years ago. So she was actually ahead of her time. So when we talk about empowerment and the other lessons that we learn, and I guess this is an important one, particularly for this moment, when policymakers develop bad policies that render our children and our communities to a place of disadvantage. See, it's a real leader that calls that out. Let me say it again. It is a real leader that calls that out. And part of our challenge is that too many of our leaders have been quiet and have been afraid to call it out. Unfortunately for them, they didn't learn at the feet of Mrs. Sanford. So I would just conclude with this. I'm going to go back to that question that someone asked me, said, Lester, well, what was it really like to be part of the faculty of CS21? And the only way I could describe this, I'm reminded of when a reporter once asked Dizzy Gillespie, what was it like to play with Charlie Parker? And Diz looked at the young man and said, You just had to be there. Thank you.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests. I'm Cheryl Gonzalez.
And I'm Priscilla Hall.
And we are from the National Association of Women Judges, the Women in Prison Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and a pleasure to pay tribute to Queen Mother Dr. Adelaide Sanford on this celebration of her 90th birthday. She has enriched all of our lives, and we owe her a lot of gratitude. I first met Dr. Sanford when she accepted our committee's invitation to speak to women at the Taconic Correctional Facility. Judge Betty Williams and myself and Dr. Sanford went to this facility. And when she spoke to the women and she told them that they were all pearls and explained how pearls were formed, that 1 grain of sand in an oyster forms a pearl, and the tears came to their eyes, and you can see the transformation in their faces as she spoke. But it wasn't just the women who were affected. Judge Williams and I were affected, the staff, the administration of the facility, we were also affected, and uplifted and wanted to do more for others after listening to Dr. Sanford. She invited us to Project Joy, Judge Betty Williams and myself, which is a program that Mrs. Eves ran in Buffalo at the Albion Correctional Facility. What an experience. Now, she had been doing this work for years, and this is a testament to how committed she was to doing this work. For Judge Williams and I, it was an eye-opener. We got up and our day started between 4 and 5 in the morning, and it ended sometime after 11. Albion has 1,200 inmates, and she spoke to all of them. They came in about 4 groups throughout the day. And for them, you could see they were uplifted also. With every group, it never faded, just moved on, and the message reached all of the inmates. Prison work is not something that is sexy. You know, people don't get any recognition for it. Prisoners don't vote. They don't have any power. So people don't consider it as something that could be worthwhile, but they return to our society and they become productive members of our society, and we can help in doing that. And we are very grateful to Dr. Sanford and the Women in Prison Committee for all that she has done to assist us in our work. Happy birthday, and all the best.
Judge Gonzalez did not tell you that she is a supervising judge of civil court in Manhattan. And my name is Priscilla Hall. I'm an appellate court judge in the 2nd Department. First time I saw and heard Regent Adelaide Sanford, I was stunned. I remain full of awe and wonder. An elegant, erudite, exquisite, eloquent educator. She is beautiful, brilliant, profound, and loving. The warmth just pours out of her, and you can easily imagine children enthusiastically studying to win her approval as she urges them to seek excellence. A few years ago, I had the good fortune to serve on the visiting committee on low-performing schools with Regent Sanford and Reverend Dr. Sheila Evans-Trainum. The committee met in Albany, and we gathered every few months to discuss closing the performance gap between low and performing schools and high performing schools. It was an education just to be in the room with her. She, Regent Sanford, was the conscience of the committee and the Board of Regents. Whenever there was an elephant in the room, when something unspoken needed to be said aloud and addressed, whenever participants were beating around the bush, Regent Sanford would speak forcefully, forthrightly, clearly, passionately declaring what was right. She was formidable, moving the committee in the direction of producing the best for our children. She is indefatigable, indomitable. Were you amazed like me to see her on the front pages of the New York Times with President Obama? I think we saw the picture. In Selma, Alabama, at the foot of the Pettus Bridge on March 7, 2015, commemorating the 50th anniversary of Selma to Montgomery in a wheelchair. Of course, she was only 89 then. I must thank the Honorable Betty Williams. Betty Williams is the person who is co-chair with Judge Gonzalez of the Women in Prison program. That was a program that I established when I was the president of the local National Association of Women Judges. And she's given me the opportunity to speak and to spend more time with Regent Sanford. Every few months or so, Betty organizes a trip to Philadelphia to visit Regent Sanford. The Honorable Cheryl Gonzalez drives, and I sit in the back and read. When we arrive, Regent Sanford greets us warmly, provides a repast, and we sit and talk, and more important, listen to her words of wisdom. She has quite a collection of artifacts, and as befits the Queen Mother of African consciousness, a story to tell about each. Later we take her to dinner, and before returning to New York City, Cheryl and Betty insist on going to the Philly cheese steak sandwich place, which on a Saturday night takes a long time to get those sandwiches. Before leaving, and Regent Sanford and I sit in the car, waiting. What a treat to be seated next to a historian and a history maker, with a recollection of family remembrances from slavery to the 21st century. I'm blessed every time she opens her mouth to speak. There was once a young woman who desired to leave her name for the immortal ages. She carved her name in a sequoia tree, expecting it to last for 1,000 years. But the lumberjacks came and chopped down the redwood tree, obliterating the young woman's name. Undeterred, the young woman wrote her name on a roadway so that passers-by would see it as they traveled to and fro from their destination. But the governmental administration changed. A new party came to power, and the signs were taken down and her name erased. Then the young woman said, "I've got it," proceeded to chisel her name in stone on a skyscraper which reached hundreds of feet into the air. Confident, she stepped back to admire her work. But not too long after, a demolition came by, blew up the building, and crushed the stone into sand. And once again, the young woman's name was destroyed. Frustrated, the young woman finally went to an elderly lady and asked, "How can I preserve my name so that it will live forever?" The wise old lady looked at the young woman and said, "If you would be immortal, you must write your name on the hearts of your people." Adelaide L. Sanford has written her name on each of our hearts. Her courage, commitment, and integrity are legendary. Her devotion and generosity, as well as tenacity in demanding excellent schools for our children, is without peer. She is a fighter, a pioneer, a civil rights advocate. She speaks truth to power and refuses to be intimidated, has never compromised her principles. She is a living legend. The edifice of her reputation stands tall. Regent Sanford, your legacy will last forever. Happy 90th birthday.
Wow. Sister Adelaide, I have the mic, but I hardly have the words to convey to you appropriately what you really mean to me. Maybe in a private space with much more time, I could do that. But let me just say very simply, thank you. Let me add my voice to the chorus. On the street that I grew up on, here I am, back home, on 116th Street. And my heart is really, I'm so moved to be in a room full of people who are among the heroes and sheroes in my life. And our ISIS sisters, can we ask all the ISIS sisters who are in the room to please stand? None more faithful to Sister Adelaide. Thank you, the ISIS sisters. There's a part of me that is so, I want to say ashamed, and I want to apologize for what we have allowed to happen to our children after all the work that you've done. You know, I want to say it with a smile because it's not too late. We, all my years at Essence, we always covered the community. It was, you know, mad style in South Africa and also what was happening in our community. And certainly you gave me so much information about the direction, and you too, Sheila Evans Trainer, my beloved friend, about what we needed to focus on and what we needed to report on and what we needed to look at. But when I stepped away from Essence and stepped into the fray, as I've done through what was started as Essence Cares and is now the National Cares Mentoring Movement, I had no idea of the depth of the crisis. I had no idea that I would step into schools where children show up hungry, homeless, where parents are stressed beyond the telling because they're holding multiple jobs, because they have depression that they're trying to manage, or they may have addictions that have overwhelmed them. And it really just makes us focus, it should, on what we take for granted. We have so much, and so much to be grateful for. And so, thinking about what I could say to you today, I just want to say that I promise no more broken promises to our children. That I will, and I'm raising my voice to ask us to do more. We are just so eloquent. I mean, we can speak. Black folks, give them the mic, and I mean, we go to town. It's in our DNA. But we're not organized. We don't have a plan. You know, we can be disrespected. Our children can be over-incarcerated, as they are being. We go to Sanctuary right up the street, Canaan Baptist Church, and we'll be praising God. A church across the street. There are more churches in our communities than we have anything else. And we're in there praising God and raising money for Pastor's 20th anniversary, $20,000, but the children around the corner don't have books. And the teachers don't have supplies. So I'm just saying to us, we have got to do better on our watch. If we love you, if we hear you, if your life really means what we're all saying it means to us, what's the plan? What's the plan for organizing ourselves and showing the powers that be that you will not disrespect our children, our community? I say this to all the sorors who are here, the fraternity brothers, those of you who are members of any sanctuary. We have to push from the pews to the pulpit and say we are a small church, adopt a classroom. Mid-size sanctuary, adopt a grade. Mega church, adopt a school. You know, we can do better than this. David Banks, where are you? We're not going to soar. You know, as you've written so beautifully in your latest book, your only book, that wonderful book. We cannot soar. We cannot soar until we learn how to do this. We have to stand in strategic unity, and we have to have a plan. A 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-point plan, not a 16-point one, but a plan for our forward movement. And we have to show the powers that be that you will not disrespect us without being punished for it. And the way we punish is just what those young brothers did with their advocates out there at the University of Missouri. The only place you can hit people is in the pocketbook. So I'm saying, let's get busy, let's get started. It's not too late, and just thank you, Sister Adelaide, for giving us your life and your love. And I have to thank my beloved Kefra for just always standing with me while I do what I can do for our people in our community. Happy birthday, my darling. Happy birthday from my heart to yours.
Oh, God bless you, God bless you, God bless you. Whoa. We have the opportunity. This is just such a joyous, joyous moment. We're going to have an oratory presentation by two, I believe, current students at CS21. But I had to say this, you know, when I came into PS21, it was a long time ago, but anything I've been in education is because of my being in CS21. I would not be anywhere near who I am. I would have believed what I believed, but I would not have acted on what I believed if I did not know it could be received in the way it was at CS21. And Michaela Williams is the daughter of a student I had in second grade, Lizette Williams. Do you believe that? She's going to be presenting today, as is Josiah Gaffney. The truth be told from the children, because when our Queen Mother talks about our beloved, she's talking about our children. And after the poem, after they speak, I'm going to come back. I think while they're going to have to clear this stage, if you let them speak. While they're speaking, I'm going to do some interactive poetry. Because my mentor told me, you got to do what you do like you do it. Hello. Holla. So can you wait just till the two young people? Okay, and then I'll do a little interactive stuff while they clear the stage. Does that work? We'll say holla. Ashe. Where are our two young people? Okay, if you're gonna speak, come here, honey. You're gonna come right up here. Excuse us. Come here. We got to see you. Can I get a witness? All right. Excuse me. He feels better. He had a stomach ache, so he had to do this.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Josiah Gaffney, and I'm representing CS21 Crispus Attucks Elementary School. Today I will be reciting a poem about Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King, you make my spirit sing. You mean so much to me, 'cause you taught us how to be free. You love everybody, black or white, and you taught us it's no good to fight, but just to stand up for what's right and let your love shine like a light. You bravely walk the streets of this land. You march with others hand in hand. You taught us that we all should stand together for equality in this land. You spoke of justice loud and long. With patience and love, you fought against wrong. As brothers and sisters, we'll be strong, because in unity, we cannot go wrong.
Good afternoon. My name is Michaela Williams, and I am a third-generation graduate of PSCS21. Today, I will be reciting a speech entitled "We Want to Live, Not Merely Exist" by Mrs. Henry Weddington, Chicago, Illinois, February 16, 1941. Dear President Roosevelt, I really don't know exactly how to begin this letter to you. Perhaps I should first tell you who I am. I am a young, married woman. I am a Negro. I believe that you are familiar with the labor situations among the Negroes. But I want you to know how I and many of us feel about it and what we expect of you. My husband is working for the WPA doing skilled labor. Before he started on this, we were on relief for 3 months. We were 3 months trying to get relief. While trying to obtain relief, I lost my unborn child. I believe that if I had sufficient food, this would not have happened. My husband was perfectly willing to work, but could not find it. Now, I am pregnant again. He is working at Tilden Tech, school where there are more white than colored. Every month, more than 100 persons are given private employment, and not one of them are colored. It isn't that the colored men are not as skilled as the white. It is the fact that they are black and therefore must not get ahead. We are citizens just as much or more than the majority of this country. We are just as intelligent as they. This is supposed to be a free country regardless of color, creed, or race. But still we are slaves. Won't you help us? I'm sure you can. I admire you and have very much confidence in you. Why must our men fight and die for their country when it won't even give them a job that they are fitted for? They would much rather fight and die for the families or race. Before it is over, many of them might. We did not ask to be brought here as slaves, nor do we ask to be born black. We are real citizens of this land and must and will be recognized as such. My husband is young, intelligent, and very much depressed over this situation. We want to live, not merely exist from day to day, but to live as you or any human being desires to do. We want our unborn children to have an equal chance as the white. We don't want them to suffer as we are doing now because of race prejudice. My husband is 22 and I'm 18 years of age. We want to own just a comfortable home by the time he reaches his early 30s. Is that asking too much? But how can we do that when the $26 he makes every 2 weeks don't hardly last the 2 weeks it should? I can manage money rather well, but still, we don't have the sufficient amount of food or clothes to keep us warm. I would appreciate it very much if you would give this letter some consideration and give me an answer. I realize that you are a very busy person with many problems, but please give this problem a little thought also. I will close thanking you in advance. Sincerely and hopefully yours, Mrs. Henry Weddington, WPA Box, Howard University, Washington, D.C.
That's Lizette Williams' daughter, my second grade student in Community School District 21. God bless my mentor and Queen Mother. Here's what's going to happen. Co-host Brian is going to just welcome and acknowledge several people who are here. As soon as he finishes, we have to clear the stage of all bad blues and jazz brothers. And while they do that, I'm going to do a little interactive poetry while they clear the stage. Is that all right with you? Say yes. Is that all right? All right.
Can we give it up for those young people one more time? Let's give it up. Let's give it up. Let's give it up. And glad they have a chance to be here. Glad that they have a chance to soak up some of this energy and some of this power. Right now, I just want to acknowledge some of the individuals from the Adelaide Sanford Institute, or actually all of us, because they do a lot of work. Could the individuals from ASI, could you all stand up, please? Stand up, don't be shy. I just want to say a few words. Most of them are here in the back. Adelaide Sanford Institute, we have retired educators, we have educators, we have parents, we have concerned community members, and we do a lot of work on top of the work that we already do in our jobs with our families. And just if we could go ahead and give a round of applause to these individuals, because they put a lot of work in, really carrying that legacy. Also want to acknowledge some special individuals. As was said earlier, everyone here is special, everyone here is significant, but there are some people that we wanted to acknowledge. And we want to go ahead and acknowledge Councilman Inez Barron, Councilman Inez Barron, and Assemblyman Charles Barron, two of my mentors. Former Councilman and Assemblyman Al Van, you can stand up. I saw Robert here earlier, Robert Carnegie, are you still here? You can stand up. And then lastly, Assemblywoman Annette Robinson, could you stand up? Oh, she had to step out. Okay, so at this time, I think they're going to set up, and I'm going to pass the mic back, and we're going to hear some poetry. So let's give it up.
If there's a Zach in the house, your wife is outside waiting for you. You better go on. You know what I know. You better get busy. All right, well, they clear the stage. I'm just going to talk smack. If you hear it, you hear it. If you don't, you don't. But we got to do something while they do this, right? Here's what I can tell you. When I was a teacher, I was so non-traditional. I had children going through, they say, today is Thursday, and they'd rhyme and rap and whatever, as if that was how you're supposed to walk back and forth to school. As a result, I started doing poetry that engaged students. So I'm going to view my students right now. So you got to say hey in between each line. Because while they do this, you may as well have some fun. Right? Hello? All right. So you just say hey in between each line. Are you ready? Are you ready? This is the way we start the day. We get the knowledge to go to college. We won't stop there. Go anywhere. We work and smile. Because that's our style. We love each other. Help one another. There's nothing to it. Just got to do it. This is the way we start the day. Because we don't play. Now, what you say? Holla! All right, I can't rap. There's still, I'll do one more. There'll be a, you know, before I finish, could you give this band a hand? They were the baddest band. Oh my goodness, I love them. Doug Harris and friends. I don't know what they paid you, but it ain't enough. We ain't gonna pay no more because we don't have it like that. We give it to the elder house and all those houses, but we thank you. We want you to do my mother's girl, but we'll talk about that later. All right, I got another one while they leave. One of the ones is talking about children being their best. The one thing our Queen Mother believed in is the excellence of our children. Unequivocal, she believed that if we do our job, they'll do what it takes to make a difference. So I wrote this poem. I made believe it was a rap, but I'm too old to rap. If I was younger, I'd be Beyonce. Or her mother, I don't know, one of them. So you need a little rhythm. It says, do you know who I am? Come on, let's make believe. Do a little rhythm. Do you know who I am? What I'm gonna be? You have that clap or something. I ain't Beyonce. I saw some people with bodies like Beyonce. I got the vision. Do you know who I am? What I'm gonna be? Give me some work that will challenge me. I can't be happy with a B. That's not good enough for me. Show me the way to get an A+. And don't make it easy, that's just a trick. Getting over isn't slick. Learning takes some extra time. They ain't clapping over there. Leave no child behind. Learning takes some extra time. It's not a hip and a hop and a nursery rhyme. It's reading, studying, not boogieing down. I can do more than dance all around. If you're not with me, better step aside. To keep up with me, you need a forward stride. Gonna step it as I step, my head held high. Gonna step it as I step, grab a piece of the sky. Cause I know who I am. What I'm about when I walk, you see my body shine. Gonna do it, got to do it, gonna more than try. Gonna make it, got to make it. Get my piece of the sky. Hello! Ashe! Ashe! I think we cleared the stage and we're ready to do part 2. Oh yeah, you should give me a hand. That was good. That was impromptu.